To the Board of County Commissioners meeting for January 11, 2022. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first thing we have on our agenda are minutes from our last meeting. Do we have any additions or corrections?
We do not. I move we approve the proceedings of the Board of County Commissioners, January 4th, 2022.
And I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded to accept the proceedings of the Board of Commissioners, Montezuma County, January 4th, 2022. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so we have Dawn as the fill-in up here and Sherry Jane down there. We'll just go ahead with planning.
Okay. All I have is two Mylars that need to be signed. You have already reviewed these and approved them. The first one will be for Keith Hall's 2-lot minor subdivision.
Okay.
And
All
the
right.
next one is for a Hollingshead single lot development.
Okay.
It's like, we might have to anyway, because I can, but it's kind of interesting. How's Shaq? Have you talked to him? I just called. Did he test positive? Has he gotten his result too?
Oh, I didn't ask him.
Okay. Is he?
I was asking about the flickering.
Oh, yeah.
But he said that he was on the phone with Joel's brother, and his oxygen levels have come up a little bit.
Good.
They actually let Sherry in the room last night. So.
Joel's a tough dude.
I've got one. It's in there. It's somewhere.
I don't think you're Shaq.
I'll just give you some.
I was really just calling, looking at how they want to put that bid out, so I'm not sure if he's back or if he's not back.
And that's all I have.
That is all you have?
Thank you,
Short,
For today.
short and sweet. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
The next thing we have on our agenda is a public comment session. The Board of County Commissioners welcomes you to this meeting. Person speaking during the comment will be limited to 3 minutes, or depending on the number of people wishing to speak, it may be reduced to allow all members of the public the opportunity to address the board. When addressing the board, please state your name and address for the record prior to providing your comments, and comments to individual supervisors or staff are not permitted. Participants may not yield their time. With that, the public comment session is open. Okay, seeing no public comment, we'll close this portion of the meeting and we'll move on. Next. That's correct. It's a public comment session.
You have to do it now, because we'll close the public comment section.
So I just closed it. Are you, so you were not clear? Okay, I'll allow it. Yes, please.
Hello and good morning. I'm Ashley Webb. I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse
Can
for.
you
Can you hear?
Pull that, yeah.
Better?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 16 years. I'm a wife and a mother of 4 young children. I'm a nurse who worked at the Montezuma County Health Department with a program for the elderly called Nail It Down. I've worked for the health department for almost 2.5 years. As of last Wednesday, January 5th, 2022, I was fired by a supervisor over the phone for not getting the COVID vaccine. I was accused of withholding information from the health department that I was not vaccinated. I informed my supervisor 3 different times that my direct supervisor was made aware that I wasn't vaccinated and I had declined the vaccine. I've never had any contact with this person that fired me, only my direct supervisor, until she fired me over the phone on Wednesday for not being vaccinated.
So I'm gonna stop this here. This is getting into comments to individual supervisors, and under the public comment, we that's not part of public comment.
I'm not.
Well, I think that the bottom line is it's a comment about an individual supervisor.
I think Ashley, correct?
Correct.
I think where this needs to go, if we go back into the handbook, there is a,
There are procedures in the handbook that
we should follow
exactly.
to go through this, basically if you have a grievance or something like that. So, because this is an interdepartmental issue, that has to go back through that process and then will be heard in that. And it's more of an executive session to personnel
Well,
instead of public comment.
and it's not necessarily even an executive session matter, depending on what exactly comes of it. But there are procedures in the handbook that an employee can follow if they have a grievance. This is more a comment to a direct supervisor, and so this is not allowed in the public comment
So
session.
your termination, I understand where you're at. I understand where you're headed, but we should still follow that policy.
So who do I need to contact to
I
see
would have
what
to
your
pull
steps
that up.
are?
I would say get with Billy,
Yeah.
First of all, at HR right here, and then look at that, and then follow that program, and let's move forward with it in that process.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
She can help you with your grievance and get you down the road where you need to go.
I do understand that I'm going to have to follow a procedure here, but I think that this is something that is affecting everywhere right now. And it was very unjust what happened, and it's happening all over the world right now. And it's taking my livelihood. And I think the county and everybody, you guys need to know what's going on, because you don't know everything that's going on because you're not interacting every day on these levels.
Sure.
So I just want to be heard, and I want what's going on to be known to the public. So I will follow the handbook, like you guys said, and contact
Right.
the person and go
Yes.
from there.
Yep.
So
Okay.
thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Name is Tim Webb. Address is 15016 Road 28, Dolores, Colorado. I'm not an employee of the county, so I can speak on this topic. The county health department has mandated the vaccine, the COVID vaccine, to their employees. This is wrong and unjust. There's been many cases lately. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it. Judges, federal judges, have struck down mandates, as they do violate our Constitution, federal law, including the First Amendment. So I would like to have a statement from the county letting me know, as a resident of this county, whether or not you are denying religious exemptions from employees of the county and not allowing or providing religious accommodations for these employees that are claiming religious exemptions as protected by federal law and the Constitution, including the First Amendment.
Thank you.
I think that's all I can say about that.
Thank you.
So is there any questions that you have? I'm not sure I'm being
Public
clear.
comment. We don't question, and this is
Okay.
not a question and answer. It's not a dialogue session.
That's
We will
good.
answer
That's-
questions when we come to our reports,
Okay,
but it's for you to speak to us and for us to listen.
okay. So that's what I want to bring to your attention. I'm not sure that's really why I'm here today. I'm not sure, as the Board of Commissioners, I'm not sure you're aware that your departments, in particular, the Health Department, is mandating the vaccine upon its employees and terminating those who do not comply, which again is against federal law and our Constitution, and including the First Amendment, which provides religious freedoms in this country. And those individual liberties have been violated by your employees, by your supervisors. So that's what I'm here to inform you today. And I would like, again, go on record, I would like a statement from you, the Board of Commissioners, whether or not you are not going to provide religious accommodations to those that claim religious exemptions against getting the vaccine for COVID. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next. Okay, one more time. This is public comment session. If you have a public comment to the board, this is your time to express it. Okay, seeing none, I will close it. And we will move on to our county assessor. And we have a contract, a TASC, the acronym that you will have to.
So TASC is Total Assessment Solutions Corporation. They are the company that does our personal property oil and gas evaluations every year. Contract is the same as it has been for, I would say, the last 10 years. Nothing's changed. Our other one is Value West, and they contract to do our commercial property evaluations, since we do not have a certified general appraiser in our office.
Okay. Look in the back, just this one is the one that's, okay, well, we got it.
Yeah. Move we sign and approve the TASC contract and the Value West contract for services to assessor's office.
And I'll second it, and it's been moved and seconded to accept the TASC and Value West contract presented by the assessor's office. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Takes both of these. These all need signed too. Just Chairman? Is he Shane?
He's back standing up back there in the corner.
I don't want to be stealing your good thing.
Oh, yeah, I got another one.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you.
Okay, next, we're going to go into the county operations, and we have, I see him sneak in back there. Mr. Higman, come on down from the county vehicle maintenance.
I'm gonna stand up today.
It's on.
Get
It
ready.
is, okay. All right, I don't have a lot. We ended up, we got that KIP van purchased, got it here, went to Salt Lake and grabbed it and drove it home. Everything seems to be all right on it, and we'll have to put some lights and a few things to get it equipped the way they want it, but that's here and in the process, real close to being ready to go. So we got that taken care of. The vehicle startup dates are still really messed up for this next year. We'll just see how that all goes. The earliest one I've got is from Chevy, and their earliest order date is gonna be May 5th. And Ford and Dodge are still not out with anything. So I don't know how that will affect our year of getting fleet vehicles, but we're gonna have to figure something out along the way here. It's been
Okay.
a rough couple of years. keeping the fleet going. Met with the Enterprise on the F-150s, and they still have no movement on those builds. They're hoping to see something start, at least get VIN numbers made for them here in the next month. We'll
So
see.
we're still anticipating Q3?
Yeah, so far they haven't changed that on me, so they're still expecting third quarter.
I think we pretty much anticipated that it would be over a year.
We're just hoping that third quarter actually comes to light,
Yeah.
because nothing else is, when they say it, it hasn't even been the same year, so hopefully this year is a little different in that respect.
Okay.
So, and then the F-150 we voted on for Dolores, they went through the weekend and then they cut off ordering, so we're gonna have to figure out something different on that F-150. So, welcome to my struggles.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I'm gonna go meet with Ken Charles and see what we need to do about getting them a vehicle to replace that one. But I'll do that in the next month and probably update you guys at the meeting next month about what we came through, an agreement there.
That's just a regular vehicle though, right? That's not
Yeah, it's just a
just a standard
base
off-the-lot
model.
vehicle.
Yep,
It's not dressed with anything.
nothing. No, that's it's just our, to keep up our end of the deal on the patrol vehicle for over there. The deal we made before we knew this was all gonna be 3 years before we could get new vehicles over there. But that's all I really have.
Okay.
Anything on you guys' end?
Thank you.
No,
Perfect.
I don't have anything.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, IT, Mr. McLean.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Like him, I don't have a whole lot. As you well know, we're kind of working hard on getting for all the changeover stuff that's going to happen in a couple of weeks. Yesterday, you probably saw from the emails where we had issues with our door readers. We've got to love the companies that do this. They host our software that does that, and they pushed an update on Sunday that apparently didn't work. And it caused all kinds of issues, so we spent most of the day yesterday recovering from that so people could get in and out of the buildings. So that's been resolved. You know, other than, as you well know, I don't know how long I'm gonna be here, or whether I'm gonna be leaving in a couple of days or not. That's still up in the air. Unfortunately, she tested positive for COVID yesterday while in the hospital. So I don't know what's gonna happen there. They're saying she's asymptomatic, so we'll see. I talked to her this morning. She sounds pretty good, but she's ready to come home. So I may or may not be here on Thursday or Friday. I don't know yet.
Okay,
Don't worry about
But-
that.
yeah, no worries.
Other than that, we're forging ahead and we're on track for everything. So any questions for us?
Got that working. We're all right.
Yes, we did get
Yeah.
that working. The part came back. I had to go medium halfway to get it, but it's back. So,
Good.
all good there.
Everything is back up and.
Yes, sir.
Properly.
Apparently, this thing sounds like it's gonna take flight, so I'll figure out what's going on with it next.
Okay.
I think we just got a fan going out.
Clean the blades.
Yeah. Anything else? Any other questions?
None.
No.
Thank you.
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you. Okay, Doug and Rachel with GIS, you guys dropped a whole bunch of things on our desk here. Are we gonna go over all of these?
The usual, we'll make it fairly quick. In Dropbox. And in today's date,
In planning? Did you just add it?
Dropbox
BOCC or P&Z? Right.
Just bring up the first one.
Okay.
Here, Jill, you can have mine. Rachel, I'll just let her have mine.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
So what I'm going to go over today, standard thing we do pretty much every January, is we're looking to certify the HUTF mileage for the previous calendar year, uploading any work changes, surface changes, mileage changes to the state, so that they ask us to do this procedurally so that we get they can pay us out that HUTF money that the road department uses. So I'll make this fairly quick. We do a lot of this reporting we do in detail, both in the GIS and in this document format, so we know everything that's happened. And the other result of this is that we also produce mapping for the road department so they can see where there have been major changes, upgrades to the road systems, when they happened, and what happened, in a visual sense as well. So this first page, and we'll just, for the audience, we'll just flip to the map here in just a second, but this first page is what I'm going to be going through. It's broken down into two segments. The first segment here, we're talking about road work that changes the mileage or the surface type of road segments. And this is what really affects the HUTF formula, is the surface type and the total mileage. So those are we would consider those major changes that might affect that funding formula. And then under that is the total reported mileage for the year. If you scroll down a little bit, Don. And for our year, it really hasn't changed that much. We've added a slight amount of pavement, and we've one small adjustment to the total reported mileage that we'll go over. Then the second section of this is just, it's a summary of the road work that was done. Now, this doesn't really affect the mileage. This is just inventorying all the road work and types of activities that the road department has done that do not result in surface changes. So the second document, Don.
Before you move on, I want to make, because we get asked this a lot. People don't understand what kind of roads that we maintain in this county. And if you look at that lower number, that 789, almost 780 miles of road within Montezuma County, that's a lot of roads in 2,040 square miles. So I realize that everybody wants their snow plowed first, but it takes a while to get the bus routes cleared and everything going on before you get to the the secondary roadways. That's, now, not every one of them are maintained all year, but just think about what they have to do to get almost 800 miles of roads taken care of.
And a portion of those roads, just to be clear, they're either green signed county roads or they're Schedule A roads, which we have an agreement on. So that does,
And those aren't lane miles, those are just actual road miles.
that's center line miles, right?
Right.
Center line miles.
Center line.
So you make a pass one way and a pass the other way, you're doubling that 700, almost 800 miles. You got
Yeah,
16.
the numbers are huge, and we, for the road department, we did run the total number of snow plowed routes, official routes that we do snow plow. I'd have to bring that up, but it's a large number as well. I believe it's right around, it's over 400 miles of roads that are actually on snow plow routes.
Yeah.
For the road department. Then the next page, Don, is just the list of the road department roads and the activities that they did to them in their work year last year. I'll just bring up the map and I'll just go over a couple of the changes, which is that one there. I guess you could zoom in just a little bit, but very small change on road K.6, which is just north of Maness. This was, we found records that 425 feet of a road was abandoned where we showed a green road, which is no longer, so that's a net loss of less than 1/10 of a mile. Changed gravel to paved, and for HUTF, there's no difference between chip seal or asphalt paving. Of course, the road department's doing quite a bit of both these days. The Cedarwood subdivision, north of the golf course, got chip sealed roads last year. Road N by Summit Lake that we adopted into the road system got gravelled last year, so that surface change went from essentially a graded status to a gravel status. And Rob brought up a map change that he wanted to make. This is Road 14, way out there by the Canyon of the Ancients. There was a section that is Green Road that was built as an oil and gas road by Kinder Morgan in 2009. Even though it was built up with some 3-inch sandstone, he does not consider that to be built to county specs. So we wanted that surface change from a gravel to a primitive road. So we made that change. And then finally the road T west of Highway 145 that goes in from Smith Materials over to Ironwood. That was a older chip seal road that got ground up, and for the indefinite future that will be considered a gravel road. And what else do we have? As far as the map up there, we don't really have to go over every single one of these changes, but what we're looking at is the purple color is re-chip sealed roads, and that would be either an overlay or grind and replace. In the situation of Road 10, up there south of BB, that was a situation where it was a full grind and then triple chip seal on top of that. And some of these other areas, it would be a chip seal overlay. And then the bluish highlighted roads are roads that got an asphalt overlay onto existing chip seal. And so really, as far as the HUTF report and mileage, almost no significant changes. We've added just about a mile of paved roads that were gravel, and pretty minor changes this year, but as you can see, the road department's done a lot of work.
So our funding for the HUTF still remains the same, correct? It's 60% to the state, 22% to the counties, which is what we receive, and then 18% to municipalities?
Yeah, I don't believe that they've changed the formula, and I think I do have a report that I can email to you, gentlemen. The formula hasn't changed, but the total amount, of course, changes, because it depends on, how much gas was sold, how many vehicles were registered, and how many lane miles other jurisdictions added or
Right.
changed, because then the state treasury department then puts that through that formula and says, here's how much money we have based on the formula, here's how much the county gets. So that's been a fairly consistent amount. And that includes now, over the past few years, the faster funds are rolled into that amount as well and dispersed to the counties on one lump sum.
Okay. All right.
No, looks good.
So if you just want to accept that report, I have a signature sheet here.
Move we assign the HUTF report for Colorado Department of Transportation.
And I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded to sign and accept the Colorado Department of Transportation, Montezuma County signature sheet. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, other than that, I've been working on the road impact fee map for the road department so they can use those funds for whatever work they have this coming year. We are going to send out another round of addressing. The planning department is still very busy, and we're trying everything we can do to keep up with that. We had a good meeting with the clerk and elections yesterday about redistricting. So we're also working on that. We're also preparing for the economic development coordinator. I think that position is posted now, and kind of gathering all the information we can so that they're ready to hit the ground running. Yeah, so our department's really busy. Unfortunately, there's no down season anymore. But really, that's all we have. So if you have any questions for us.
And I did just want to mention, next Tuesday we will be presenting a proposed precinct map, a timeline. We need to kind of keep that moving. So for the interested parties, we'll be getting that on the agenda and getting the preliminary map on the website by the end of the day, Friday. Today, we'll get that on the GIS web this week. We'll get on the GIS website to accept comments. Trying to have precincts, we need to make them work by state statute. We also need to make them so that it's easy for the clerk's office, elections office, to implement precincts, and we'll go over that next Tuesday.
Thank you.
Okay. And whoever was working late last night while the Dolores meeting was going on, for the Harris property, what they were discussing, thank you for getting that information to them. Appreciate it. I don't know which one of you it was, but somebody must have been working late.
Mysterious GIS.
There we go.
Or maybe you just have things going out for you.
Santa.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway,
It was me, and you're welcome.
all right, well, thank you,
Thanks,
sir.
Don.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thanks.
Well, the federal lands typically don't jump on until 10 o'clock. It's kind of the timeline that we've put forth for them. So we're going to jump right into the discussion with Ironwood Group and the high impact permit and the fire mitigation plan. With that, we'll have our emergency manager or sheriff, GIS, and Ironwood. But is anybody here from Ironwood? Come on down.
I don't have anybody waiting on Zoom from them.
It makes you feel any better, I'm on Zoom.
Yeah, like I said, we don't have anybody on Zoom.
Well, I was just advised that apparently it sounds like they were kind of planning on being here at 10.
Well, and I don't know that they were necessarily being here planning on being here at 10. I think it was anticipated that we might get to this issue around 10 o'clock. It's really up to you, Commissioner, but ultimately, I think it's important that we give Ironwood every opportunity to be here. We certainly want to hear from them today, given the situation.
Okay. Well, then we'll adjust this and we'll give them a little bit more time. It's 9:40 right now. So hang tight, guys. Bear with me. We will get there. So I guess what we'll do is we'll jump down. We can finish our unfinished business. We can do our reports, and then we'll readjust our schedule accordingly. So under unfinished business, and Shaq, since you are on Zoom, if I am incorrect in this, we are not signing the IGA for the opioid settlement because it's being changed again, but we are appointing our representatives, and we have one from Social Services, we have two from Public Health, and we have you as our administrator. Am I correct in that statement?
That's correct. We're waiting for another version of the IGA to come out, but from Social Services, we'll be appointing Jessica Thurman. And I think yesterday you guys decided to appoint Laurel as the primary and Bobby as the secondary from the Health Department, and then to appoint me as the county rep.
Okay. And that was a discussion that we did have yesterday in our workshop. So, Commissioner Lindsay, do you have anything else to add to that?
No, I would just move that we appoint Jessica Thurman and also Laurel and Bobby from the Health Department. Bobby is a second, and Shaq to the Regional Opioid Board, otherwise known as SWORD.
Okay, and I will second that. So it's been moved and seconded to appoint to the Opioid Board Jessica Thurman from Social Services, Laurel and Bobby from the Health Department, with Bobby being the alternate, and Shaq, our administrator, for the three to serve on that board. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We also have under unfinished business, Shaq, our organization of the BOCC for the 2022 review and our 30 and 60 and 90-day plan. Do you want to jump in there?
Yeah, and Don, that document will be in last Tuesday's folder in a Word document, and I think what we can do is bring that up, and you'll see the positions that need to be filled, and I think what we should do at this point, if you don't mind typing in names as we go down that Word document, is just put in the name for whichever commissioner is going to fill that role on the board for the next 30 days, and then we can adjust it again in the middle of February and the middle of March as needed.
Yeah, we've looked at this, and I would so move that we have everything remain the same and review it in 90 days.
And I would agree with that.
Well, I think that we would, the ones that Commissioner Stevenson is the primary on, I think one of you will need to step into for the next 30 days.
Right.
And I think our discussion that we talked about yesterday is we'll just have to tag team it between us, not necessarily appoint anybody specifically there. We'll just leave it as it is, Shaq, and then we'll just cover it between the two of us. So we'll leave it and review it for 90 days. I don't.
Who is the secondary on the AAA?
Me. It's going to be me.
Lindsay's the primary and Candelari's the alternate.
Yeah, that's the only one
Okay.
I'm having trouble.
So can either one of you cover that for the next 30 days, or do we need to ask another elected to do that?
That was a discussion we had in our workshop yesterday, is that we will be asking for other elected officials' help in this short duration of time. I did have a conversation with a commissioner from Archuleta County. He also advised us that he would be willing to help us with any information that was forthcoming that we couldn't get. The legislative session starts relatively quickly, which is going to occupy a lot of our time. So I think that with our elected officials here, we can leave it as it is. I will get to everyone that I can, and then we'll just have to have help moving forward for the short interim.
Yeah, with AAA, they just met, so they're good for another
They only meet quarterly, right?
quarter. They're only quarterly, so
Five months?
it's another 3 months till they meet.
But we will cover it, Shaq. I assure you we will make sure that it's covered.
Okay, and that meeting is on, I believe, the first Wednesday of every other month at 1 o'clock.
Correct. It was asked when they met us here a couple, maybe a month ago, that they move their meetings to Thursdays, and an hour later, apparently that was discussed from my conversation with the commissioner from Archuleta County. So it sounds like they're pretty set on their date of Wednesday. I think it's 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
So we will attend that, or one of our designees being a public official. And the public officials were all notified yesterday that we will need help. So with that, I will second it. It's been moved and seconded to leave. Would you scroll back down, though? The listings for the 2022 offices and appointments as currently presented. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Moving on. We'll have our attorney's report.
Not a whole lot to add to last week's report. We did get the case involving Road Y set for trial. That is set for September, and so quite a ways out, but that's the way that it is right now. It's hard to get in quicker, and so that trial has been set for September. Other than that, we continue to move forward on our land use cases. We are set for trial in one of those two cases next month, and we are prepared to move forward with that trial. And at this point in time, we also have another land use case that is continuing to move forward. I anticipate that will either be set for a trial or perhaps be a default judgment sort of situation. We still have not heard from the landowner in that case, and so appropriate filings will be made.
Okay. And with that, I do see a representative from Ironwood in the back that just walked in, so we're going to jump back up to that discussion with the Ironwood group as far as the high impact and fire mitigation plan. So if you'd like, Wade, come on down. You can sit at the table. And then I think I have the fire departments and sheriff and emergency manager here against the wall. Good morning.
Morning.
I'll let you start this off, Mr. Spratler.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning, Lynn, Ian, and Don. So, you've all received information on Ironwood over the past year. We've been given various notations of what's been going on and what we can see that's going on. So I'm pretty much here just to talk about this, the plan that Wade forwarded to us. We received, I think you got a copy of the first plan that we received. So in that plan, we do have, like further down on going forward on this plan, it has some dates when these items were going to be completed. That's number 2, 3, and 4 of going forward. And you can see there's a completion on that. So that was sent to us. We looked at it. And then we got the comments from the fire department, the sheriff, myself, James Dietrich, Shaq. And we put together another plan using this plan that he sent us, and we highlighted everything in red on what we would recommend for this plan to be put into place that would satisfy the county's needs. So with that, you can see it was pretty extensive, just different things on measurements and documentation and items that we needed, including a site plan. So that was sent to Ironwood through Wade, of course. And then on this, and then we also sent a compost operations chart on measuring the temperatures, etc., on that. So a lot of great suggestions. And then with that, then we received their document a day. I had computer problems, I think, but a day after Ian's letter asked for it, but we received their plan. And the plan that they sent actually took out under going forward on number 1, 2, 3, and 4. They took the completed times have been taken out, so we don't have a determination on when those items going forward will be completed. There's no site plan, no additions added to it from our suggestions. And then on the very end, there's basically a dissertation that talks about the sawmill meeting that we had on the March 12th, and it talks about the employees and how they're building employees in the community and a few other odds and ends, that the pile's been shrinking a little bit. And then it was more of it wasn't part of the plan, it was more of just a description of what they're trying to do and where they're headed. So, best thing I can say is that it's really not a plan. It's really nothing that I would personally approve. I don't know. I was talking to the fire chief of Dolores, and it's not a great plan. There's not much in there. And then Shaq may have more to add to this, or the other people.
I'm going to call for the Dolores Fire Protection Chief to come up and give us your analogy of this. You are the first responding unit to that location, because I have a lot of concerns of the dates that we were given. A lot of the dates have already passed, and I don't see anything that's been accomplished. So with that, go ahead. Name and address, please.
My name's Mike Zion. I live at 31335 Highway 184 in Dolores. I'm the fire chief for Dolores Fire Protection District. We've been out there a few times looking at it. I missed the last meeting, but my concern is there's so much stuff out there now, even if we put it into the piles that they say, it's too dangerous, because there's going to be too many of them, and we can't handle that kind of fire load. The county can't handle that kind of fire load. So we need to start figuring out some way to start removing them as quickly as possible. So I know you saw from the pictures how they've grown over the last couple of years. It's amazing. That's a huge fire load out there. And I think they dug down in some of the piles the last time when I didn't make it, and they were already starting to get warm. They didn't have the probe out there that you guys bought for them, but I think if we get a fire out there, we're going to spend more time trying to save houses than we are the mill.
Okay. So as far as the mitigation plan that was presented, do you have any,
Well, I was concerned about the
recommendations
30-foot
as far
width.
as the-
You know, that's not much of a width when you've got a wind blowing or something like that. You know, we saw embers, huge embers, flying half a mile from the Aspen Wallwood fire. So it's just going to light one pile after the other, and we're not going to be able to stop it. And being it is shavings, and once they start moving them, it's going to not be compacted anymore, so it's going to make it burn a lot hotter and faster. You know, years ago, that's where we spent all our time back in the late 70s and early 80s, is out there at that sawmill putting out sawdust fires, but they were all compacted down, so, you know, we could never really get to them, but they never really exploded. And I think we have a different situation on our hands now than we did then.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Sheriff?
Morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Everyone. My job as a sheriff generally is the protection of the public in general. Primary with this location of Ironwood, we've been concerned from the very beginning because of how the biopiles had grown. And when I see that, you know, a 25-foot high, 150 in width, and 250 feet in length, with only 30 feet between these piles is just not adequate. The problem is we've experienced fires with spontaneous combustion that cannot be put out with the resources that we have. My primary concern is for the safety of the public that lives there, the residents. This being so close to an RV park, the homes that are there, and the road that is just one way in and one way out. So what I'm concerned about is if there is a fire and if there is a loss of life or property, I can tell you if there's a fire, there's going to be a criminal investigation because that's my job. And we're trying to prevent this from the very get-go. And I think that it needs to be addressed sooner rather than later, one way or the other. And we've just asked for that. It's grown so much that we have to do something. And we're asking for Ironwood's help to see that that doesn't happen. As we're moving into springtime, with the moisture in these large piles and whatnot, we know what's going to happen. And I don't know if they're actually being monitored heat-wise on a daily basis. And if there is, I haven't seen it, but that's for the fire department to determine along with the county. What I am concerned with is I don't want it to start because it's going to spread and it will spread fast. Here in Montezuma County in the springtime, we have heavy spring winds. That is going to be just like what took place in Boulder County. And I do not want that to happen here. And so that is where I come from, and I will stand with that. I just ask for everybody's help to help mitigate this as soon as possible. Reduce those piles into what we talked about with all of the other mills, okay? Of smaller piles, multiple piles that are greater in distance and width from each other. And that's what can be actually extinguished a lot faster and not have the potential to get out of hand and out of control. Because this, if it starts, it'll be out of control. And it will. So that is kind of where I'm coming from with this. And I would really like to see some help and cooperation from everybody. It would definitely, if there was action done, it would certainly ease my mind as well as everybody else that lives there that I'm responsible for. And I feel accountable to these people to do the very best we can to prevent a tragedy from happening. And that's what I have to say. Okay? Thanks.
Thank you, Sheriff. Okay, Wade.
And Commissioner, if I could just briefly speak before
Sure.
Ironwood. We've got some legal issues here, as well as just the safety issues. Ironwood's operating under a high-impact permit at this time that was granted to it by the county. In that high-impact permit, it sets forth which threshold standards they are going to violate, how they're going to mitigate those violations. And at this point in time, they are not in compliance with that high-impact permit. Under the land use code, there is an opportunity for the county to review that high-impact permit. And I think that's one issue that Ironwood has at this point. The other issue is this is a public nuisance. This is dangerous, as the sheriff just pointed out, to our community, and that creates significant legal issues for Ironwood as well. This is really a point in time where this is something that needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed now. It needs to be addressed with specific dates, or else, there really are significant legal consequences that could come out of this, both in terms of the high impact permit, civil actions, and possibly even criminal actions. And so I just wanted to make the commission aware of that, and certainly make Ironwood aware of it. I think that Ironwood is already aware of it, but I think it's important to put out there just so everybody's on the same page.
Can you pull the mic? Pull the mic to your.
I started work here in February. Kind of came into this thing. I think I met with Jim first time maybe September, October, somewhere in there, which was the first time I ever even heard about what we needed to do, or that we needed to do something about the pile. Even though when I showed up, I thought, just from my past, knowing it was a pretty big pile. I wish I would have known before, even back in February.
Put the mic to your.
Even back in February, we could have started moving them into smaller piles at that point. So, apologize for that. But like I said, I didn't realize that happened, or we needed to do that until around September, October.
Just to clarify, not to interrupt you, but we held a meeting in March.
Yeah, I got the paperwork on
so
that,
was
but I was not.
That was the first
aware of.
notification.
Yeah, and that was one of the owners, which is no longer part of the company. So anyways, put that back behind us. So as of November 17th, basically what was asked of us was to try to separate that large pile into smaller piles at the 30 feet distance apart from each other. What kind of 5-year plan do we have to get rid of the piles? And if we could do some mitigation around those piles for the fire of like 90 feet around them. Then someone received a letter from one of the neighbors, or one of the neighbor's friends or something, and then all of a sudden everything has changed since then. So when I put this plan together, I thought I was above what they had asked from me as of November 17th. And it just got way out of hand, I think. I guess that's where I kind of stand, is as of November 17th, we were asked to do the 3 things and come up with a plan over a 5-year period how the pile was going to disappear, but put into those smaller rows of the 150 by 250 by 25 feet high.
And that
with
was
30 feet.
to be completed by the 7th of January 2022, if I read that correctly.
What's that?
Though it was supposed to be into the piles separately.
I've never heard that.
Individual piles?
We were still talking with the with the city, with Jim and with the fire marshal, even December.
Okay.
What I asked from, what we asked from Ironwood was a written mitigation plan
Mitigation plan,
no
correct.
later than January 5th.
And it has to be accepted, an accepted mitigation plan that takes care of the entire area up there, which has been redlined, sent back to you, which has not been accepted or even approved by our emergency manager, sheriff, or the fire department of the district.
Right, but
So-
what we were discussing as of November 17th, which got abruptly changed when a letter came in with someone else complaining about it.
I don't think this has to do.
I've got
let's
the
leave-
emails
We
and
can leave the
everything
letters.
showing exactly what we needed to do from the fire marshal and the managers.
Okay, so what we're looking
then all
at
of a
right
sudden it's all
now
changed.
is the picture that we have right here.
What's that?
The picture we have right now is what we currently have basically at that location today. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, nothing has been done since the last meeting we had in November to it?
A lot's been done to it.
Okay, what's been done to it?
A lot of the logs out are been taken out, and a lot of the chips have been taken out. I
What-
told them
a
they
lot?
could come
How-
and,
When you say a lot, what is that?
I don't have the specific number. I'd have to go into the mill and look at the log. They're
Okay.
all weighing in and weighing out.
Okay, do you have that record?
They
You
have
have
the
them.
mill, yes.
Okay,
If you can see, there's a lot of logs on the outside. I can show where there's been at least 100 truckloads out.
okay.
They're
So,
working on
do
today as
you
well.
understand that where what we're looking at is not even a one-day fire event like the sheriff just
I
pointed out?
understand that. I do.
If it gets into this canyon and we have 60-mile-an-hour winds, 100-mile-an-hour winds, we're not going to do anything in the face of those prevailing winds. We're going to lose everything and everything in its path. So I guess where I come from, and I'm speaking for just myself, is that this is not acceptable. And I want to know when action is going to be taken and when it's going to be done. And it's not going to be 6 months down the road or whatever. You are in jeopardy of losing your high impact permit here, and you are aware of that, correct?
I don't know how, how you guys can change everything after, like I said, we were talking as of the 17th, everything is
When we
completely
see a
changed.
hazard, we can change it immediately.
Well, then,
So we see a hazard.
then we won't have a business. That'll be it, and then everybody will lose their jobs, and that'll be the end of it.
Everybody is not working
That's
right
all I
now,
can say.
correct?
Because we don't have any bats to heat the log.
Okay.
But
So
that'll determine if we bring
it
them back
looks
or
like
not.
we could be providing a lot of jobs right now by getting the mitigation measures taken care of.
You have some capital
Okay?
to help us with?
Do we have, we're not talking about your business plan, we're talking about my concern
I'm talking
for
about
the
capital to
county
do it.
to get the situation taken care of.
I'm talking about the capital to do it with.
Capital is your issues, not mine.
Okay, well, there's been a
So-
lot of cities that actually have cared and they've helped with doing that kind of stuff, so.
So, answer my question.
Yes, sir.
When do you
I
plan
don't
on
have that
having
answer.
it mitigated?
I don't have that answer. So I can do is say
So you just have a lot of
I've got a
open-ended-
plan here that I brought.
But there's no dates on it. What is the date to mitigate this plan?
Okay, well, they asked for a 5-year plan. Do you want me to go put the 5-year plan back in?
I would like.
I was
you can
trying
put
to
a
do something
5-year
sooner,
plan.
but it all of a sudden wasn't acceptable again.
This is my concern, your 5-year plan of how you're going to take care of other things as part of the plan. This is a fire mitigation plan. This is absolutely a fire hazard.
I understand that, sir.
That's our concern. I'm looking at this one specific right now, a fire hazard. That
I
could
believe that we
wipe
would lose
out
the mill probably first.
how much.
Because it's so close, but
how much
I understand
of
that.
our county that I don't want to play or jeopardize.
I do not either.
So, give me a date.
I can't give you a date.
We can dance this dance all day long.
So,
But I think we
So-
need to go to executive session to receive some legal advice and move forward. So I would move we go into executive session for a conference with the attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice on a specific legal question under CRS Section 24-6-402, parentheses 4, parentheses B.
And I'll second it. So it's been moved and seconded to move into executive session for a conference with the attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific legal questions under CRS Section 24-6-402, parentheses 4, parentheses B. Included in that will be Dorncamp, sorry. Commissioners Candelaria Lindsay, Attorney McLaren, and Planning Director Haley. And do we want to include the sheriff in this?
And would you like me to call into that as well?
Yeah,
Chairman?
Yes.
I would like to include Check Powers and the sheriff as well.
And also including our administrator and the sheriff. All those in favor? Aye.
And I would just add that this executive session is for specific legal questions related to the current situation at Ironwood with the fire hazards.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Aye.
Thank you.
We'll just go back here, and you guys can all stay out here.
Okay, where do I?
Okay, again, I'd move that we come out of executive session.
And I will second it. It's been moved and seconded to come out of executive session and go back into our regular BOCC meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Do you have anything else to add, Wade?
Now, the only thing I have is the paper from November 17th, kind of what we were talking about, discussing what we needed to do to go forward, and then how it's changed progressively in 2 weeks prior to that. That's all I got.
Well, I think you have, your plan was submitted. It was basically rewritten with the red lines on it that needs to be complied with. It was sent back. So after having...
Excuse me.
Go ahead.
So, actually from November 17th, and what my plan was way over what was asked. That's what I'm trying to explain. My plan was way over, and then it all of a sudden it changed. And I'm just wanting an explanation. How all of a sudden they want us to do everything right today when in November we were talking about a 5-year plan.
I don't know what you're talking about, a 5-year plan, as far as what you're talking for your operations, but...
It was from the city manager and the fire marshal.
I think the emergency manager was asking for a plan of how you're going to move forward in the future. So what we're trying to deal with right now, that's a plan, that's a 5-year plan. So that's future. What we're dealing with right now is the present. Okay? So we have something that's facing us that is the present, that was there, and it was created within the last year and a half of operation. So after having our executive session with the attorney, we're going to set a public hearing for the review and determination of the high impact permit, and that will be set for 1/25, 2 weeks away, 2022.
And then in addition to that, I would just add the county did provide Ironwood with an edited copy or a red line copy of the initial plan that Ironwood provided us with. I think that, certainly from the county's perspective, that plan does set forth the steps we would expect to be taken to work on mitigation. Our goal here is to get this pile mitigated, to get the safety concern alleviated. Certainly, as Commissioner Candelaria said, we're going to be looking at the high impact permit. And at this point, we're also considering potential civil litigation. So just to put Ironwood on notice that this is a significant issue, and we need to work to get it cleaned up.
No, I agree. We'll be doing the same with our attorneys, find out what we need to do, what we can, ask them how things can change over a 2-week period of time. Like I said, I was going over and beyond what we were discussing 2 weeks prior to what I gave them, so, I mean, it's...
Okay, well, it's set for a public
Appreciate
hearing
it.
in 2 weeks.
Yep.
All right,
Okay.
thank you. All right, we are going to move on now.
Connie.
I see Derek, Connie, actually, we do have our public lands here. Is that Connie?
Yeah.
Derek, all right.
And Casey from Mesa Verde National Park is on Zoom.
Oh, okay, good.
Happy New Year.
Hello, happy
How
New
are
Year,
you?
Derek.
Good, how are you all?
Oh, and Ray? Ray is also with you?
Ray is also with me today. We'll give him the middle, the hot seat.
Okay, well, again, if you guys will pull that mic as
Do you wanna
close
go?
to your mouth as you can, that way it can get recorded and everybody can hear you. You almost have to be able to kiss it.
All right, how's that?
There we go.
All right. So, good morning, everybody. Good to see you again. It's been a while. I only have a couple of things. First off, I think I about a year or so ago, I talked about the breakwater, that we did receive funding in order to go ahead and move forward on that project. We still have the funding, but we are running into some engineering capacity issues. So because of that, the design isn't going to get done until probably next fall, winter, so that then we're ready to implement in FY23. The hope was that we were going to be able to get that done this summer, but like I said, due to our engineering capacity, we're not able to do that. And if anybody knows of any civil engineers looking for a job, we do have 2 positions available. Just right now, engineers can get paid a lot more in the private sector than they can with the federal government, so that's the obstacle that we're running into. And then the folks that we have on staff are pretty overtaxed at this point in time. But like I said, we have no intent to drop that project because it is Great American Outdoors funding. It's good through 2025, and we've been assured that in 2023 that design will be able to be completed so that we can implement hopefully in 23 as well. Any questions on that? No.
Real simple question. What are you going to build it out of?
There's actually, it's going to be something similar to what's out at Lake Nighthorse. We went out and looked at that wave eater design that they have out there, and it looks like that will work for us. We just need to design it such that it'll be able to easily incorporate with what we currently have out there. So that's what we'll be utilizing. At this point in time, that's the plan anyways.
So is that I think at Lake Nighthorse they have a 2-row system or a 3-row system? Do you have that? Or you probably haven't gotten that specific yet?
Correct. We haven't got that specific yet. That's what needs to be done. And trying to remember, we had the vendor that provided that system out here. I think it was about a year and a half ago, and he recommended 1 or 2, and possibly 3 structure system, but like I said, I don't think that's been firmed up yet.
Okay, thank you.
And then the only other thing is that this last hunting season, we did see out on the glade a lot of unauthorized use of old or in some cases even new routes being developed out on that landscape. So we're going to take a good inventory of that this year, this spring and early summer, and then hopefully in the fall be able to go out there and do a little bit heavier closure of some of the more heavily used unauthorized routes. So basically, we made the commitment to the Dolores and Montezuma commissions that we would do progressive closing of these roads. We would just put a sign first. And then if that didn't work, well then, we'd move to bouldering, and then if that doesn't work, then, possibly doing some scarification out there. At this point, we're mostly going to be in the bouldering standpoint for some of those unauthorized routes out there. This would be nothing, new as far as roads that were open that we would be closing. These would just be, roads that where the decision was made to close, during travel management, that is continuing to get use because the signing is just not working anymore. We actually did have a good 2 or 3 years there where we didn't have a lot of use, and I don't know if it's because of COVID or what the case was, but we just saw a lot of increase in use of unauthorized routes. So we're going to be there again, just reinforcing some of those routes that either provide watershed protection or wildlife habitat security, and concentrate on those. So like I said, we just committed that we would be letting the commission know when we were going to be doing those types of things, and that's what we'll be looking at doing this summer.
Okay.
And that's all I have, unless you have any questions on anything else.
No, thank you.
All right, thank you.
No, I have none.
Can I get a question to?
Sure.
Just real quick. I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I am. No. We talking about towers and the new federal thing, and thank you for your response on that, the new proposed fee for towers, $1,400 plus or minus some change for each tower that's on federal property, based upon salaries for inspections, et cetera, that we talked about. So we're looking at Cavanis for sure, because the owner of that is now going to charge us $1,400 a year as soon as this proposal works. And our other tower is the Dolores Tower. It's on Forest Service land. We have a file, James Dietrich and I have been looking at, we have a file now about this thick of who really owns that tower and who doesn't own that tower. We believe that the county does own the tower. The equipment on it is the state equipment, the DTR system. So I have not heard a word about, I'm assuming that tower will be charged $1,400 as well, because it's on Forest Service land. What do you think? You think?
You know, I have, when you sent that email was the first time I'd even been made aware that the Forest Service was even seeking, that type of authority to be able to. So basically, I'll just give a little bit of background real quickly, is that, trying to remember when it was, an executive order was passed, either, I can't remember if it was in Biden's administration or Trump's administration. I don't know if you recall.
The Farm Bill, 2018, 2019, somewhere in there, yeah.
Okay, and it just required that, all federal agencies that deal in telecommunications site administration, make it as efficient and as easy as possible for rural communities to be able to achieve, wide-scale broadband capabilities. And a lot of that was dependent on these telecommunication sites, because they're usually the high point in the area that can provide for that. Based on that, the workload associated with it was such that at least the Forest Service, just didn't have that in the budget to be able to accommodate what was being required of that executive order. So the agency is currently in the rulemaking process to be able to charge an administrative use fee to administer those sites, and then also take applications for new facilities here at those sites, to be able to retain those fees to there again, make it easy and efficient for entities to be able to utilize our sites for expanding those broadband capabilities. So that's what this is all about. Is currently we're in the rulemaking process. Rule bypasses the congressional legislative process, and is another process where an agency can implement something that pretty much holds the same status as law. So the fees that we currently collect for administrative sites, we don't have the authority to retain those. Those have to go back to the Treasury. So this would be another fee that would be collected, that the agency would be able to retain there again to administer these sites and make available new opportunities on those sites. I did not read in any of that, that there is any kind of exemption for public entities. So right now they're in the comment period for that. This isn't something that's been finalized or anything like that. I can't really give advice, but if I were, an entity, I would say that saying public entities could be exempt from that, would be a good thing to do. So basically that's all the information that I have at this point in time. Like I said, my read through of it didn't demonstrate to me anyways that there was any kind of emergency services exemption. So yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, that's the way I read it. I've read it about 7 times. I'm just trying to get my arms around it. I know BLM has always given us an exemption. but, and the feds. Yeah, so there's a lot of interesting topics surrounding this. The CCNC, the Consolidated Communication Network of Colorado, that runs the DTR system, allows people to get on the system and utilize it. And the state puts the property on the towers. They buy that for us, but we have to supply the tower, the shed, all the equipment that goes inside of it. They'll take care of most of the time. We've always had that understanding with the Forest Service. It's not you. I'm just talking Department of Ag that, started this with the Farm Bill. But we've always had that agreement where we scratch each other's back, right? I mean, public safety is free. It's on these tower sites, and we may have to pay for electricity. But now we're looking at, this cost. For our county, possibly $3,000 yearly for 2 sites that I'm aware of. I'm going to assume the one in Dolores is definitely owned by us, and we're pretty sure it is, all the information I've received. So those are the 2 that we have, but La Plata County has numerous all along Cavanis on that side of their line, not to mention some other places, but I'm getting a lot of information from sheriffs, under sheriffs, the CCNC committee, everybody, that they're definitely going to give their comments by February 22nd. So I'm researching it. I just thought I'd throw it out there if you knew any more about the Dolores site. And then James and I are working on a response letter that I think not only the Board of County Commissioners, but maybe all the fire chiefs, Chiefs Association, et cetera, and law enforcement will sign this, or at least we can add their names to this comment and ask and request those kind of things, and give some background on it. So we're going to put something together for you before the 22nd, just so you know. But
yeah, I know Lori's not available, but somebody might have a users list out there.
Yep. Yep.
You would have that list.
Yeah, I've got the list, and I'm part of the Southwest Communication Committee. I'm the chair, so I've got a lot of resources and people that we can draw from. But yeah, just wondering if you knew any more about the Dolores site. But
yeah, with regards to the Dolores site, I think you're correct. I can confirm, but I believe it is on federal land.
Yeah, it is. I checked. It is on, and then it was always this contention: who owns that tower? But our equipment is on it. So whoever owns it, it really doesn't matter. We're still going to have to pay that fee if the tower owner charges us for that fee. But looking at some past documents written to Roy Lane, et cetera, is definitely.
We own the tower.
Yeah, we own the tower. Okay. It's a conglomerate, but we own that tower. So it's actually called Montezuma Agreement between Dolores County and Montezuma County. So it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, if there's no commercial TV stations or radio stations utilizing that tower, that's when we get into who's the owner, because it's usually the commercial entity that owns it. So if there's not anything like that on there, then it's most likely owned by the county or another government entity. That's
interesting that you said that. Just there is a radio station on it, and so we're looking into this. If we own the tower and they're on it, are we charging them a lease? Are we paying someone else? So yeah, it's
Probably
interesting.
Not.
Yeah.
If it's a pass-through right now, it's probably not costing anybody.
And they're on there because of public alert system. They're able to use that tower for that. That's why I think we allowed them to be on it. So a lot of elements in this mess. So.
All right.
Thanks, Derek.
All right, you're
Appreciate
welcome.
it. Sorry.
Oh, that's all right.
You bet.
Want me to pick on you?
No, I'm good with picking on Derek today.
So good morning. I'm Ray O'Neill. I'm the monument manager for Canyons of the Ancients, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk with you guys for a few minutes. James asked if I could spend a few minutes talking about the Yellow Jacket and Flodine Park grazing allotments, and I have about a page and a half that I'll read to you guys in just a second. Then I'd be glad to answer any questions. But before I did that, I thought I would mention a few updates from the monument. Our Visitor Center Museum has been open since April, only 3 days a week. We're expanding to 5 days a week come March 1st. We're also having a new special exhibit. For the last year, we've had an exhibit about the 50th anniversary of the Wild Horse and Burro Act. That has been taken down, and the beginning of February, we'll have a new exhibit from the University of Colorado, Denver, a series of architectural drawings of some of our cultural sites, and I would encourage folks to come and take a look. And then we're also excited to announce that our bookstore, which has been vacant for about 2 years, something like that, that the Glen Canyon Conservancy is going to be coming in March, and we'll begin to operate that bookstore. So we'll have that opportunity available for the public. So, promise it's relatively short. Glad to answer any questions you have when I'm done. But talking about the Yellow Jacket Canyon and Flodine Park grazing allotments, I've been here for about a year as the monument manager, and during that time I've had the opportunity to speak with people on both sides of the issue. I understand that grazing on public lands is an important part of the history, heritage, and economy of the area. I also understand that protecting the resources, including the cultural resources, is the reason the monument was established. And we're a multiple use monument, and our goal is to do both. The 2 grazing allotments have been vacant for about 15 years. About 5 years ago, the BLM proposed to reissue the grazing permits, and due to pushback from environmental groups, monument and field office staff were asked to further analyze the proposal to reissue the grazing permits. The environmental community, the ranching community, and some of our affiliated tribes have all continued to pay very close attention to what we're doing with the two allotments. Further analyzing the proposal to reissue the grazing permits has meant that we have been working to come up with a new process. And I think you guys all recognize that if we use existing processes, the federal government isn't fast. And developing a new process has been taking us a bit of time. Over the last year or more, we've met regularly with the State Historic Preservation Office and the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation to develop a programmatic agreement which would allow the BLM to reissue the grazing permits while also protecting cultural resources. Once we complete the PA, we'll work through an environmental assessment, which includes the work done on cultural sites, as well as an analysis of effects to other resources. Our concern with potential damage centers on 3 types of cultural sites: standing architecture, rock art, and rock shelters. The majority of the sites on the monument are rubble piles. Through this process, we're not concerned with potential damage to those sites, to the rubble piles. It's just those 3 sensitive sites. About 30% of the acreage of the 2 allotments have been surveyed for cultural sites. A first step to understand what could be damaged is to know what's out there. Surveying 100% of the sites would be prohibitively expensive. A couple of years ago, our archaeologists developed a report which compares the location of known sites with variables such as soils, geology, vegetation, and aspect. He was able to identify unsurveyed sites where sensitive sites are likely to occur, moderately likely to occur, or highly likely to occur. Our efforts in recent months have been to meld the archaeologist map with a map from our range specialist, which identifies how much use livestock will have in an area, primarily based on distance from water sources. If an area is likely to have sensitive cultural resources, but cows are unlikely to graze there, our level of concern and need for additional survey would be low. Initial indications are that our process would reduce the need for additional surveys by roughly 90%. It would save 90% of the cost of surveys. Once we complete the site of identification portion of the PA, our next step will be to talk about mitigation. And we believe that grazing permittees could be a part of that step since they know the landscape well. We're committed to public participation throughout our process. Once we have an agreement from our signatories about the identification step, we plan to ask interested parties for input. We anticipate that'll occur in the next month or 2. We also plan to offer an opportunity for a field trip to discuss the programmatic agreement, likely sometime this spring. Process hasn't been fast, but we're committed to trying to figure out a way to both protect the monument's resources and and allow grazing.
And I'll take that so that I can add that to the record.
Okay.
Since you,
I could send you a cleaner copy if you'd like.
that's fine.
Yeah.
Just as long as
Okay.
you can send it to the clerk. I actually have a question. Why was it ever initially removed? I mean, what?
So the allotment came back to the government after the permittee at that time refused to sign his grazing permit. It actually had been, the numbers had been decreased based on an assessment, and that permit holder decided to not sign that permit. So it essentially came back to the government, and it's, and then in association with that, we did get a land acquisition. And so we've been combining that land with the grazing permit and then wanted to reissue the permit. And that's just been a long time in coming, Jim.
So it's an unusual circumstance in that
It
we
is.
don't have somebody who currently owns the grazing permit, and we also don't have a base property associated with the permit. It's an unusual circumstance.
Yeah, when the permit comes back to the government, we typically take the time to see if there's interested adjoining permittees, or, you know, if we have another allotment that maybe needs some relief for grazing. And so we go through the whole idea of who might be able to use that grazing. And we just never acted on it. And then about 5 years ago, we did act on it because we did have, at the time, what we thought was good current environmental analysis. And some of the protesters disagreed with us, and that's when the state office asked us to go back and update our land health analysis and update our process. And as a result of that, we've had a profound interest in how grazing affects cultural resources. And as Ray indicated to you, we've been trying to navigate a new process where we incorporate both what we know on the ground is happening with modeling in those areas that we, you know, haven't been able to get into, and then come up with a good path forward on how do we figure out where grazing impacts could occur and how do we mitigate that. And so that's all this big bundle of analysis that we're doing right now in order to analyze and issue a grazing permit. But we have to get through these hoops with both the tribes, interested parties, and the State Historic Preservation Office in order to move forward. Does that make sense?
Well, what makes sense is that somebody didn't sign the grazing allotment and then went back to the government. Everything else after that,
We can talk more.
we'll have to talk because
The
I'm not-
field trip will be good.
every time we start changing these processes, and it takes, I mean, what are you talking about, decades?
We've been working on this pretty steady for the last, 2 years, I would say.
I've been here a year, and we've been working on it solidly for the last year.
So
There were some
that's where I
efforts before
get
that.
Frustrated.
You know, the question is that time frame, and it's always like, well, okay, it's a year, or it's 2 years, or it's
Right.
5 years, or it's 10 years. Well, that's not efficient.
Yeah,
That's not
it's-
effective, and it's not efficient. I
It-
think that we should be better than that.
It's
And that's just
really-
my opinion.
Yeah, frustrating when in the original proclamation, grazing was protected.
So
It was deemed an appropriate use. You are
Yes.
absolutely right, Commissioner.
correct. So I understand that somebody didn't want the grazing permit, and they denied it. I get that. But now, if it's still appropriate, then let's get the process fixed. Let's do it quickly and efficiently, and then let's get on with it.
Yeah.
That's where I get frustrated. I just don't, I see a lot of things that are just not, in my opinion, efficient and effective.
I appreciate your concern. One thing I would add is that as we've gone through this process with these 2 grazing allotments, we aren't assuming that we'll use this process in other areas of the monument. We're always trying to think and make sure that we do something that would be possible other places.
And I appreciate that. And it just seems like we can be more effective. That's all. I'll leave it at that. And,
We hear you.
okay.
And you know what, Jim? We continue to work on navigating this. As you well know, our processes and our decision-making is a public process. And when you involve the public, it can be very long and cumbersome and
And
difficult.
I
And it doesn't
understand
mean
that
we
also.
still wouldn't be, sued at the end, but we're trying to do our due diligence, commit to the proclamation that the president signed for Canyons of the Ancients, protect those resources, and also recognize that grazing is an appropriate use out on Canyons of the Ancients. We get that. And now we're navigating, we're threading that needle in how to make this successful for everybody. And it's not always easy, and it's certainly very time consuming. We've been spending a lot of energy, so we hear you. Thank you.
I get it, but anyway.
Got it.
I'm not trying to shoot the messenger, not that at all. I'm just, it just becomes frustrating.
I appreciate that.
That's all. All right, with that, Ray, are you done? And we'll.
That's all
give
I've
it to
got unless
Connie?
you have other questions about the monument.
Hey, I have a quick update. So as you know, we've been scoping officially for what I presented to you last month about the Mary Austin land acquisition. Really have appreciated the community's input so far. You can get onto our e-planning website to be able to give comments. I just want to reemphasize that with this community. We are very interested in your input. That closing date, I believe, is the 18th. So please get your comments in for scoping. The next step to that will be issuing an environmental analysis, which we're hoping to do pretty quickly, like target dates around the 1st of February?
1st of March.
Is it? I think it's,
Okay.
anyway, 1st of February, and then issue a decision.
By the 1st of March.
By the 1st of
That's what it
March.
is.
And that really is more a result of the owner wanting to get the property closed on and this and that if we do make that decision to pursue the acquisition. So just to kind of give you that time frame that this one actually will move fast compared to other things in the federal government. See, I gave you that little twist, Jim, so.
Okay.
So I wanted to update you on that.
It's amazing, well, I'm not, no.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Very good. With that, I did want to pass along our sincere concern and thoughts and prayers for Commissioner Stevenson and his family. So please know that we're thinking of him
Thank you.
and his
Nice.
family. So
We greatly appreciate that.
you bet. I have 2 more updates real quickly. I don't know if folks have been out on the Phil's World Road, but we poured about $40,000 worth of stone and rock on that road. Generally, it's pretty good, but the last few storms we've noticed we're having a few impacts out there, so we'll keep working on that road. But pretty excited to be able to put some stone out there. That's a pretty important road, and so appreciate everything that the county does to help us with that. Summit Trailhead, as you know, has had a really good response this fall. We have a lot of horseback people that were enjoying it, hikers as well. People are enjoying exploring it. And just wanted to pass along our gratitude to the county. We have a brand new parking lot there. It is closed right now for winter wildlife season, and it will reopen at the end of April. But really appreciate that. We have not gotten a lot of feedback, negative feedback on that. We've gotten a fair amount of good positive feedback. So please let us know if you're hearing anything from the neighborhood or any concerned citizens.
I haven't had any negative feedback at all.
No.
I've actually had some positive feedback.
Very good.
Mostly by emails, but nothing negative.
Okay, very good. I think the last thing I just wanted to remind folks of is they see a little bit of smoke in the air. We will be burning piles from timber sales and some of our tamarask control work in and around the area. You might see it around Summit Lake. We're hoping that if we get some more snow, we'll be able to burn around Summit Lake, but as that snow melts, we'll probably have to take a time out. We have been burning up on the rim over there on the Dolores River, more in Dolores County and such. But if there's smoke in the air, it might be us burning piles. So with that, I think that's all I have for today. And thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We do have, you guys are more than welcome to listen to Casey from the Park Service.
Excellent.
Casey, you are next.
And Happy New Year to the Commission, county staff, and my fellow federal land managers. I'm sorry I'm not with you in person today. I've got an all-day webinar that I ducked out of for a period of time, so thanks for accommodating me with the Zoom. I have a pretty short list of updates for you. I'm happy to report about the visitation for calendar year 2021. We're actually back up to what we saw in 2019, where we closed out the year with 562,000 visits, which is just 5,000 less than what we had in the pre-pandemic year of 2019. So I think we can say that visitation is strong, and we would expect that to continue for calendar year 2022. And for the county and also for our gateway communities as a primary economic benefit. An update on the Federal Highways project that was occurring last year. According to Federal Highways folks who are managing that project for us, the work is slated to start back up in mid-March, and that will begin with a continuation of the paving work and other work on the Cliff Palace Loop. And that should be done by June 15th, if all goes according to the plan. And at that point, the Cliff Palace Loop will open up to visitation traffic, and we will continue the paving project on the Mesa Top Loop. After that, we'll progress to the Big Hill, the paving project and some rock scaling there. And then the last phase of the project will be construction of the roundabout or traffic circle. That'll be down near the park entrance. So that is slated all to be buttoned up by Labor Day. So keep your fingers crossed. We're hopeful that we get a good weather window to get started in mid-March and can proceed efficiently through the rest of the summer season and get things done at that point. There are a couple of planning efforts to update you on as well. And the first is that I wanted to let you know that we've extended the civic engagement, basically the comment period for the public and other stakeholders to provide comments on the Spruce Tree House Arch, Alcove Arch Stabilization Project. We've got our initial civic engagement period was slated to end last Friday, but we want to encourage additional public comment on the preliminary concepts, the range of concepts that we have out there. So we have pushed out the comment deadline to January 21st, and you all should have received a press release about that extension last week. And then we're also just beginning the civic engagement on our Wildland Fire Management Plan for both Mesa Verde National Park and Yucca House National Monument. The press release on the 30-day civic engagement period went out last week and runs through February 5th. And if the commission or staff are interested in a more detailed meeting about the fire management plan and what's in the preliminary range of concepts, I'm happy to be involved in that, set that up. This plan is going to replace the current Wildland Emergency Response Plan, otherwise known as the WERP, and give us a broader range of fire management activities. So that's my short update. I'll entertain any questions that the commission has.
I don't have any for you, Casey, Commissioner Stevens, or
do you have the dates on those burns?
The dates on burns?
Yeah.
Well, we don't have anything scheduled at this point. The Wildland Fire Management Plan is actually the management document that will outline our processes. So we could actually have a burn that might happen between February 20th and March 20th, but that's preliminary right now. There may be a press release that comes out on that soon. But the management planning effort is basically for a new wildland fire management plan to replace the document that we've been working under.
Right. Thank you. But every time somebody sees smoke coming up from down here to up there, it's the phone rings.
I understand. We'll be in touch with you should we decide to go forward with the prescribed burn.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Casey. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Thank you all. Derek, Ray.
Thank you.
Connie. Happy New Year to all of you. Okay, find my place here. We are down to an administrator's report. Shaq, have you got anything for us that Don has, or? We lose him?
taking his nap.
Shaq, are you there?
Well, I will assume that he doesn't have anything, but if he does, he can break in. So with that, we'll go to our commissioner's report. Commissioner Lindsay.
Not much to report. Spoke with Joel's brother day before yesterday. He'd sent me a voicemail, and at that point in time, I can't really give you too much because it's medical information, but he's doing a little bit better today. Let's just put it that way. Other than that, a few phone calls, some reading, city councils tonight, so that's where we're at.
Okay, very good. I attended on Thursday a Southwest Economic Outlook in Durango, put on by Region 9 and economists from Boulder, going over the state as it looks as the economic outlook. Something that Laura brought out to me, and I had never really thought about this, but we're all asking, where did our workforce go? Because all of a sudden we have all of these jobs open back up, and there's a lot of work, but all of a sudden we don't have a workforce. And what she highlighted there that really struck me, because I had never thought of it, I have no idea why I didn't think of it, but are people that were in the workforce, the baby boomers specifically, ages 60, 65, and even into mid-50s, have decided to exit the workforce. They're done, they're retired, for whatever specific reason, they just said, okay, we're done and we don't need to go back to work, which was a large number. And the other side of that coin is that we, believe it or not, don't have enough youth that are being born to actually backfill that. So we're actually in a decline as far as a workforce. So the takeaway that I took was, if you can find somebody that you're willing to train, hold on to them, train them, and try and create your workforce that way, because what we were used to having as far as people in the workforce, it just doesn't exist anymore. I did keep the slide presentation. I'll go over that with staff someday soon, because it was pretty informative. Friday I had an NCA meeting with Dolores County, San Miguel County, our attorney, our administrator, and basically discussing language of some specific items that would like to get addressed to move forward with the NCA. And specifically, Ian, those are unreasonably diminished and reasonably diminished, as far as two of the big definitions that we're kind of trying to work through as it relates to water.
Yeah, I think there were really a couple things: the unreasonably diminished language in the NCA, and also the different project sizes and whether those will be included or not. And so those were two of the things that we discussed at that initial discussion.
Yep. So that conversation is ongoing. We will have a meeting, I think it's next week. Attended briefly yesterday a West Slope CASA meeting from the Department of Human Services. Could only stay on that for a few minutes because I had to get back down here for another meeting. So I'll have to follow up on that. We had a department head meeting yesterday, just kind of getting a quick briefing of what's happening in all the departments, and that was pretty informative. We had a special meeting yesterday with the RCC in the afternoon, and that will conclude my report.
We're going to Mancos tomorrow.
And we will both be in Mancos tomorrow night to cover for Commissioner Stevenson. So.
Shaq says he has nothing more to report.
Okay, and James also said that he had nothing to report. So with that, gentlemen, I think we have
Included. Motion to adjourn.
Okay, and I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded to adjourn this January 11th meeting of the Board of County Commissioners. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.